stains on you, like the failed project. I'm talking about the Brampton U. So you started with the Brampton U logo, Brampton U website, and more than $600,000 were spent on that.
People who were speeding in the city of Brampton were the ones who were paying the costs for the entire program itself, including the staff who were working on this particular project as well.
The city took a loan of $19.4 million from Peel Memorial Hospital Reserve Fund. Then $4 million loan from Downtown Reimagined Project. Then $800,000 from the Clark Transit Facility. Then $600,000 from the sidewalk repairs.
When you put all that convergence of all those projects together, we have also seen that there's been a labor shortage in skilled trades.
On your own website, you spend $44,000 on own website. And then on the media communication, you spend $55,000. Is that a taxpayer's money?
If you're not in this job to try to make change and try to do new things and move the city forward, if you're not going to try, then don't try and you won't get dirty. I would not say that it was a failed project, because at the end of the day, we got the Cybersecure Catalyst, which is in downtown Brampton. And we also got the medical school, which is the first in over a century, which is a huge win for the city of Brampton. And we also got expansions of Algoma University as well. For a good chunk of that term, half of that term, from 2020 until 2022, we were really...
Rowena, let's see your report card also, because on the social media there were many questions, and we want you to answer the residents of Brampton.
My staffing, 1.2 million divided by 4 years. Nitin, I spent my own money...
On these trips?
On these trips.
Not the taxpayers' money?
Not taxed. So I paid for my own flights, I paid for my own accommodations, and I paid for my own food. The challenge we have with our police is that they have a lot of issues and priority crime that they have to deal with. We have also been hearing complaints from Mississauga and Vaughan that the windrow cleaning service is causing damage to the curbs, damage to the driveways, and people are not necessarily satisfied.
Regional Councillor, Ward 1 and 5, serving her second term, elected in 2018, and she made a history by becoming the first Filipino in the Ontario Municipal. Holds several high-level positions at the municipal, federal, and provincial levels. Named 2023 Woman of Influence by the Municipal World, and recognized as Municipal Trailblazer by FCM, none other than Rowena Santos. Rowena, welcome to the show.
Hi, Nitin. Thanks for having me.
Rowena, are you election ready? This is the election year.
Of course. You know, like at the end of the day, this is about delivering for the residents of the city of Brampton. It's been an honor serving this second term. And election ready essentially is getting things done for the past 4 years, which I've managed to do, which we've managed to do. And obviously, Nitin, there's still a lot more to do in the city of Brampton.
Brampton is a vibrant city, very, very vibrant city. 8 years in power. Almost 8 years.
Yeah.
And how you see your performance in this last 8 years?
Yeah, so, you know, I think that in my first term of office between 2018 and 2022, folks seem to forget, but the reality is that every single municipality, every single local leader, provincial leader, federal leader, residents, you name it, we were all dealing with COVID. So for a good chunk of that term, half of that term, from 2020 until 2022, we were really at a standstill dealing with an emergency, with all hands on deck, trying to deal with an emergency on top of a exploding population coming into the city of Brampton. And over the past 4 years, recent 4 years, now that the pandemic is behind us, we've really focused, I've been really focusing on catching up on some of that lost time because of the pandemic, making sure shovels are in the ground on some of those major projects, like the Riverwalk, for example, and downtown revitalization, and park enhancements for our residents, and you name it. But also doing incredible things for advocacy to the federal and provincial government, making sure we get the funding for our second hospital. These are some incredible accomplishments in a short period of time. Not to mention the LRT, where we now receive funding to bring the LRT underground and to our downtown core.
Rowena, let's see your report card also, because on the social media there was many questions and we want you to answer the residents of Brampton. You posted your budget and expense report also. And then 4 employees costing taxpayers 1.2 million for 4 years. Why a councillor need 4 employees?
Well, we are a very large municipality. As you know, the population, recent statistics show 800,000. Many residents believe that it's actually closer to 1 million. I tend to agree with that. I think our population has always been underreported. And in wards 1 and 5, I represent about 120,000 constituents. On top of that, I also serve as an ongoing board member for the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. I sit as an executive board member for the Toronto Region Conservation Authority. I'm a regional councillor. I'm the chair of community services, the chair of legislative services, vice chair of economic development, on top of responding to all the local residents' needs. That requires support. I cannot do all of those functions, all of those roles, and get things done in all of those roles without a supportive team.
So you justify for having 4 employees because of these all roles?
Well, I'll say that at the end of the day, I have 1 full-time employee, and the other employees are part-time. I make an effort to hire students, to hire people who need job experience, train them, mentor them. I hire internships, co-op students, summer students for summer jobs. And so my office and the opportunities in my office not only support the tremendous amount of work that we are doing in wards 1 and 5 and across the city in all the roles that I play, but also it's an opportunity to give experience to a lot of young people in the city as well.
And your expense report, travel expenses, 2024 Tokyo and Manila trade mission. So what came out from that mission? What you brought from Manila to city of Brampton? And that expense was there, and also there were more trips, like trip to Germany, Alberta, Ottawa. Those were not mentioned in your expense report. Why those were not reported, Rowena?
Yeah, and thank you for bringing that up, because in 4 years of office, so for example, we were just talking about my staffing, 1.2 million divided by 4 years in all of those roles actually doesn't amount to much staff support for a councillor who is doing this amount of work. As Vice Chair of Economic Development, part of our role is to make sure that we are pitching to other countries, other businesses around the world, strengthening international trade relationships, because we are competing against other municipalities for these jobs and for this business investment. What I will say is that my mission to Tokyo in the Philippines was incredibly packed. So it was nonstop meetings, meeting with incredible investors, incredible startup companies.
But do we have any result? Did we get any investment here in Brampton?
Absolutely. So for example, Canon headquarters, which is headquartered in Canada, the person who actually brought Canon headquarters Canada to Brampton is now the president of Canon International. And that major relationship, when you're dealing with Southeast Asian companies and trade relations, you must interact with them in person. The level of trust in your city or municipality for businesses to make multi-million-dollar investments cannot happen virtually. And they will not come to travel to Brampton because you just invited them. There has to be a long-term standing relationship. And with respect to the Philippines, we've now had about 4 or 5 delegations of businesses, investors, Unilab, which is the Philippines' largest pharmaceutical company, and more recently, a couple of weeks ago, some of the mining companies from the Philippines come to Brampton.
So in that scenario, we can say that maybe Bramptonians might not be aware that those trips to Tokyo or Manila, they brought the investment here in Brampton.
Yeah, and it's an ongoing relationship that needs to be established, especially now that the market is the way it is in the United States. These international relationships are vital in order for people to invest overseas into Brampton to create jobs. And what I will say about that trip, Nitin, is that unfortunately people are spinning it as if I spent all this money. Nitin, I spent my own money
On these trips?
on these trips.
Not the taxpayers' money?
Not tax. So I paid for my own flights, I paid for my own accommodations, and I paid for my own food. And staff obviously were there. That's,
Rowena, we can cross-check your statements by the
Yes.
the expenses of
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
budgeting expenses.
absolutely, absolutely.
So you mean to say that travel expense to Tokyo and Manila you did from your own pocket?
for my personal travel, from my personal pocket, I paid for my travel expenses and my accommodations. Yes, 100%.
And what went from taxpayers' money?
The staff. So staff obviously had to go travel, the economic development staff who were with me. So they traveled along with me, and obviously they were compensated for the expenses that they paid.
But you brought the result from there.
100%.
And-
Japan is very much so interested in Brampton. The Philippines, very much so interested in Brampton. Do these relationships take time for them to be established? 100%. If you visit them once, are they going to invest hundreds of millions into the city? It doesn't happen overnight. But are we now competitive versus other municipalities who are not doing this work? Absolutely. So when Prime Minister Carney goes overseas and establishes trade relations with the Philippines, many of those investors in the Philippines are already looking towards Brampton. And similarly to Japan, because we have, as a city, as a council, been pitching to these international businesses outside of North America.
Why the expense of your trips to Germany, Alberta, and Ottawa? Those were not reported in the expense report.
So Germany was actually sponsored by the German government.
Okay.
So fully paid for by the German government. And in fact, I'm very proud of it because it was a climate change conference hosted by the German consulate and the German federal government. They invited exclusively 15 municipalities around the world to talk about climate change, sustainability, and models and new things that municipalities are doing around the world to solve climate change and climate crisis. And Brampton, I was invited by the German government to attend that conference along with only 14 other municipalities around the world. It was quite an honor to be there, and it was all expenses paid by the German government. With respect to Alberta and Ottawa, I sit on the board of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. I'm a board of directors, and I'm also the chair of their committee called the Finance Infrastructure Transportation Committee. It's a really important committee because it deals with all the many important issues for municipalities on finance, infrastructure, and transit, for example. And those expenses are paid for by the city because I represent the city on that board and speak on behalf of 2,000 municipalities around the country.
You also donated to the senior clubs, and that is Seniors Club $500, to the Sikh Center $250. On your own website, you spent $44,000 on own website. And then on the media communication, you spent $55,000. Is that a taxpayer's money?
So this is really interesting. In terms of community support, every single counselor has their own ability to send support to community organizations, women's groups, seniors groups, nonprofit organizations, youth at risk. And I utilize my budget similar to other counselors and the other mayors to support the community. And I'm very proud of that. When seniors clubs are asking for support or a women's group is asking for support, I'm happy within that budget to contribute as much as I can and happy to do that. With respect to communications and media, we no longer have things like printed local papers anymore, per se, that's delivered to doorsteps. We are bombarded in social media with misinformation and disinformation. And at the same time, I learned in the previous term of council that residents in 2022, when I was knocking on doors, they shared with me they don't know what's going on with the city. They don't know what we're doing. They don't know what projects are coming up, why we're spending this and that. And so what I invested in was a very powerful communication tool and platform, which is my website. So over the past 4 years, that amount that you shared, is a very powerful website which I use to engage my residents, send links about updates of what I'm doing, the motions that I'm passing, things that are coming up at the city, ways to engage with me, for example, asking them about their experience with petty crime, doing a customer survey. It's a very powerful tool in a world where people are lacking information.
Rowena, we got your point that you have your own website, you spend this money on the website and media communication. There were suggestions from the community that why can't our councillors have a section in the City of Brampton's website? You can save the cost. You can think out of the box. Instead of spending $44,000 on the website, 10 councillors in the City of Brampton can have subsections in the City of Brampton website, and city is already paying to maintain the website, and it can be utilized in that way also, so that saving the cost. Under one website, city's website, if all the councillors have their section, they can promote anything they want. It saves cost, taxpayers' money.
So that's interesting. The City of Brampton website is a corporate website, and it is currently undergoing review to be improved. I get actually, unfortunately, a lot of complaints about how the city website is very difficult to navigate. When councillors have their own website, we can actually customize it, personalize it far more better, and based on the local needs of residents in wards 1 and 5, for example. So as the local councillor, I know what my residents are looking for, the information that they're looking for. And I could very easily, in a very timely way, post things on my own website and distribute it a lot faster than going through a corporate channel.
But we can save the cost.
Yeah, but then
we are living in a high inflation time, and we are living into a Canadians are struggling, and they look to their leaders, to their councillors, to their politicians that they can save a penny to serve the...
I'm not sure whether or not having customizable web pages on the city website would save us much more money than what I'm doing right now, and to the amount of customer service that my website is providing. For example, I have over close to 500 posts now on my website regarding anything regarding the City of Brampton. And for the past 4 years, because that content has been developed, I have been able to create an AI tool where you can ask a question and your question will be answered on my website because there's so much content on it.
So going to your website, and we saw that you started a campaign on your website with a survey.
Yes.
Do you think that police is not doing their job? My first part. Please tell me, is police doing their job properly? Because you said that petty crimes, they are not reported by the police. And our law enforcement job is to report any kind of a crime. Either it's a petty, it's a vehicle theft, or any kind of a crime, they should report it. So is police not doing their job properly?
So I think that what the challenge we have with our police is that they have a lot of issues and priority crime that they have to deal with. And so their resources are spread thin. This is on top of the fact that last year we hired a historic number of 300 police officers, and then another 175 for this year.
So now they don't have challenges.
Well, we're catching up to what was for many years an under-resourced police force on the front lines. And when we're dealing in the region of Peel with things like auto theft and extortion and the #1 calls, which is domestic violence and other violent crime, our police resources are utilized to focus on the most violent and egregious crimes in the region of Peel. Now, at the same time, residents in their local neighborhoods are feeling unsafe and helpless and losing their peace of mind because they are finding these people who are checking their car doors at night, they are rummaging through their cars, they're stealing the packages off their porch, they're stealing the lawnmower out of the shed.
But being a counselor, why you are collecting the data? It's a police job.
Yeah. So I'm collecting the data because many residents are, instead of reporting it to police because they feel like the police are not going to do anything because it's a petty crime, they are instead sharing it on WhatsApp groups, sending it on social media, emailing my office. And what I would like to do is actually consolidate some of those stories and those experiences so that I could share it with the police. I've already shared with the police that I'm collecting this information. And quite frankly, Nitin, these are the kinds of crimes that are causing our residents to feel unsafe. So while the
So
police...
are you hopeful that you're sharing these data which are already available on social media, which residents already shared with the police, which is across the social media? Do you think any result will come that police will report these petty crimes?
I think it needs to be organized. And I think that sharing with the police in an organized way some of these experiences and officially asking for a better solution other than, sorry, there's nothing we can do, right? I think that that is the best way forward versus doing it and just talking to each other, right? And complaining on social media, complaining on WhatsApp. There is more that can be done. And so my plan is, once I consolidate all of the information, so people can still take that survey online, councillorsantos.ca/pettycrime, I'm going to be doing a delegation to Peel Regional Police at their police board meeting at the end of April to present to them the feedback from the residents, but also work with them on what some of those solutions might be.
Do you think police
forward.
is not aware of these data?
Oh, they're totally aware, but whether or not they're tracking it in an appropriate way is a whole other question.
But you raised a red flag here, quite a red flag, that residents, they are not going to the police. They think that they are not going to do anything. You just mentioned that.
Yes.
So if that perception comes to a resident mind, that police is not going to report, they are going to do nothing, so that loses the confidence in the residents.
Yeah, and that's the problem I'm trying to solve and trying to
reconcile. And that's the role of our city, to go to the police and start reporting the petty crimes even. And if they have a challenges, overcome that. If they need officers, you already provided them. If they need a more budget, they said we have enough budget, but still crimes have not been reported to the police. Yeah,
residents need to do their part, even though they feel like police aren't doing anything. And ultimately, as the advocate for the residents, delegating to the Peel Police Board, it's something I've done before. So I did this before in 2019 when I delegated to Peel Regional Police about the issue of intimate partner violence. And that's what spurred the Department of the Intimate Partner and Family Violence Unit at Peel Regional Police, as well as the Break the Silence campaign. That was back in 2019, and we've come a far long way to deal with domestic violence, gender-based violence in Brampton and across the region now. In a similar way, I'm planning to take that information from residents, many of whom are not reporting to police, and make an official report to police, share that data, and work together with them to find better solutions so that our residents have a better peace of mind.
So far, how much data you have collected till today?
So I believe the total number of people who have filled out the survey at this point in time is over 200.
But there are much bigger numbers here.
Yeah, and that's just the survey. So a lot of folks have responded to my Facebook post, or they've responded to my Instagram post. I keep responding to them saying, please take the survey, because you can't just send Facebook posts to police as evidence.
But we have Team Brampton here. We have municipal, we have provincial, we have federal. Team Brampton, and still police is not reporting petty crime. Is very saddening for the residents.
Yeah, it's something that definitely needs improvement for sure, Nitin.
Yes. Why Brampton don't have windrow services during the winter time? They always complain about that. Why, if Mississauga or a Vaughan can have, why don't Brampton? If our councillors spend so much of taxpayers' money here and there, why can't we have? And those all the media reports about the city of Brampton's misusing of funds, why can't we have windrow services?
So windrow services is another one of those controversial issues. We've done a number of surveys to residents about whether or not we should have windrow cleaning or not, and certainly with the winter that we've had, that matter has been a hot topic for residents. Ultimately, when residents are informed and educated on the cost, which is quite a significant cost to the property tax bill, as well as the fact that windrow services would not be applicable to all properties. So if you live on a small street, if you live in a townhouse, if you live in a condo, you will still be paying property taxes for that service of windrow cleaning, but not receive the service, okay? So it's not equitable across the board. And we have also been hearing complaints from Mississauga and Vaughan that the windrow cleaning service is causing damage to the curbs, damage to the driveways, and people are not necessarily satisfied because the windrow cleaning service comes hours after the snowplow. So by the time the windrow equipment shows up, you got to get out of your driveway beforehand.
Yeah.
They're not going to necessarily show up when you want them to show up. That's just unfortunately not how it works. So given all the inequities in the service, given the high cost, as well as inconsistent performance and complaints from other municipalities about damaged property and the cost to property taxers to pay for that damaged property, we at this time are not providing that service. And perhaps if residents in the next term would like to see that service, then we can have that conversation again. But ultimately, still a slim majority of folks in Brampton would rather not have windrow cleaning.
Okay, Rowena, as I mentioned in the introduction that you have many great feathers in your wings. You were the woman of influence by the municipal world. You were the trailblazer in the FCM. And then with the great feathers, you also have some stains on you, like the failed project. I'm talking about the Brampton U. So you started with the Brampton U logo, Brampton U website, and more than $600,000 was spent on that. And then the demand came that why forensic audit was shut down in Brampton U. What happened in case of a Brampton U? Why there was no Brampton U? And we spent taxpayers $600,000 on that.
So in October of 2018, just as I was being elected in my first term, the Ford government pulled the plug on Ryerson University at the time for setting up in the city of Brampton. At that point forward, I knew that residents really wanted our own university in Brampton. And so I started pushing and looking at what that Brampton University model would look like in Brampton. And in order to put together a proposal, yes, you do need to do work, you do need to hire experts, you do need to make a strong business case. I would not say that it was a failed project because at the end of the day, we got the Cybersecure Catalyst, which is in downtown Brampton, and we also got the medical school, which is the first in over a century, which is a huge win for the city of Brampton. And we also got expansions of Algoma University as well. So in a way, those advocacy efforts really sparked investment in post-secondary, particularly in health sciences in the city of Brampton, and cybersecurity, which are two specializations in Brampton that we can be very proud of. In terms of, your reference to stains on my shirt, you know what, I will say this. If you're not in this job to try to make change and try to do new things and move the city forward, if you're not going to try, then don't try and you won't get dirty. Okay, but if you're going to do and try to solve problems and face challenges and stand up for what Brampton deserves, yeah, are people going to try to throw mud at you because you're trying to work hard for the city, you're trying to move things forward? Absolutely.
But don't you think that we should do a due diligence before starting any project, that where it will lead, where it will go? Like we started Brampton U very aggressively. We also promoted in our news segments, Brampton U is coming. And after a few months, we saw that money lost, $600,000 plus, and logo gone and website gone, and we got nothing in the end. So before starting any project, we should do a proper due diligence, proper report.
Yeah, and what I will share with that is that the Ryerson University proposal, which was the proposal where the province had promised to bring Ryerson University to Brampton in 2018, that was led by a blue ribbon panel. And that budget for the blue ribbon panel also cost millions of dollars, 1-point-something million dollars for the blue ribbon panel to create a program, a proposal for Ryerson University to come to Brampton. And so when you're bringing major proposals and projects and pitching it to other orders of government, yeah, you do have to make some investments in order to increase the advocacy for those proposals. At the end of the day, Nitin, as much as people think that everything is the city's decision, it is not just the city. Post-secondary education sits with the province of Ontario, and to a certain extent the federal government can support as well. So while we advocate and push, do our proposals, write our business case to have these things in our city, it's really up to the provincial and federal government to say yes or no. So just like how the provincial government pulled the plug on Ryerson University, while we were working during COVID to bring Brampton University and advocating for Brampton University, building off the blue ribbon panel work to Brampton, it was still the province who said no. They said no, but we're going to give you a medical school. And we're going to support the cybersecurity catalyst in Brampton because we want Brampton to be the expert in cybersecurity. And we're going to support Algoma University. So it's their decision, but it's our job, just like international investments, it's our job to advocate for what's best for Brampton so that we can be competitive versus other municipalities. If no one's going to invest in Brampton, they're going to invest somewhere else. We, as municipal officials, must advocate for our city.
Okay, let's talk about the fiscal reality, the budget 2026. 0% property tax hike by the city part. And then, is it real or illusion or the smart maths, which was reported in some of the media also, real, illusion or the smart maths? Additional, there is a 1% levy on hospital levy. Region increases approximately 3.36%, and utilities increase from the region is 7.8%. So total projected hike is 4.3% in City of Brampton budget. And then city says it's 0% from the city side. So smart maths?
Well, you know what? People are struggling. Times are really tough right now. It's tough for everyone, to be honest. It's tough for the city. When your electricity bill goes up, when your gas bill goes up, the city's electricity bill, the city's gas bill also goes up. When we get to 0%, for the city operating cost, that is a lot of hard work done by our budget team. And to be perfectly honest with you, in that first term of council, 2018 to 2022, during the pandemic, we managed to really tighten up the way that we do our budget and had a property tax freeze for 4 years. 0, 0, 0, 0. And then in 2022, 23, 24, 25, 26, there was inflationary or less than inflation property tax increases. And then in 2026, 0% again. We have listened to residents. It's kind of a lose-lose situation. If we say we have 0%, they're going to say, why? It's not real. If we say 2%, they're going to say it's too high. Why don't you tighten up your belts more? What we're saying is we've listened. You want us to tighten our belts. You want us to look at our budget. You want us to take out our detailed, sharpen our pencils and get to as less as possible increase as possible. That's what we did. And I can proudly say that that's what we did. The hospital levy is a requirement by the province in order for us to meet our 10% contribution. Again, we are trying to build that much needed second hospital in the city of Brampton. We are required to come up with 10% of the capital and equipment costs. So that is on the property tax bill, on top of all the fundraising that we do. And then the regional increase of 3.36%.
3.36%.
Yeah,
yes.
for City of Brampton portion is mostly driven by safety and health and safety. So, for example, the police budget, a lot of pressure on the regional budget because of the police. The second thing is paramedics. The paramedics budget also on the health side and safety side, we had to increase our budget because we had a new collective agreement and we hired more paramedics as well. And the final thing is water, wastewater. So at the region of Peel, the other major cost is making sure we repair, replace, and create new water, wastewater facilities to accommodate the incredible growth in the region of Peel. Some of those things we just can't escape. But did we sharpen our pencils? We 100% sharpened our pencils.
So total projected is 4.36%
Yes.
tax hike.
Yeah,
in
so
2026.
1% plus the 3.3%
Yes.
would give you 4.3%.
36%. Okay. So there are some criticisms also that there are so many cuts in the project. There are delays and deferred projects and infrastructure backlog. We have seen City of Brampton, lot of places there are projects are going on, but they are standstill. There are delays. And these contractors, they are not working 7 days. They are working Monday to Friday. They are not working Saturday, Sunday. It gives inconvenience to the residents. Cut, delays, deferred projects, infrastructure backlog, these are the criticisms.
So infrastructure backlog, let's talk about this for a second. So during COVID, from 2020 to 2022, there was a standstill.
Yeah.
There was no construction. All projects were put on hold for the most part, and nothing was happening. Because of that standstill in those 2 years, we're now looking over the past 4 years, and we're trying to catch up. We're trying to catch up with those delays because of COVID, and then we're trying to also build and catch up to the projects scheduled for this term of council. When you put all that convergence of all those projects together, we have also seen that there's been a labor shortage in skilled trades. And so there is a labor shortage in skilled trades, so there are fewer workers to do the actual work. So that's also a cause for the delay as well. And in addition to your point about having people work on weekends, if we want that 0% property tax increase, Nitin, we cannot afford to pay overtime for construction workers working 7 days a week, especially if there are labor shortages and those jobs are already high demand. What will happen is typical supply and demand. If you don't have enough supply and there's a high demand, those prices are going to shoot up, especially if they're working overtime on the weekends. So Doug Ford paid millions of dollars extra of taxpayers' money in order to expedite the Gardiner Expressway construction to accommodate World Cup. Now, does the city of Brampton have that level of funding that the provincial government threw at Toronto? We don't. And so there has to be a balance, and this is about making sure that in our affordability crisis right now, our property tax dollars stay as low as possible, and the responsible choice is, quite frankly, not to pay those overtime labor costs for weekend work.
Is city spending, overspending and useless spending also somewhere those loopholes can be fixed?
We are fixing them, and we have fixed them. So in that first term of council for 4 years, 2018 to 2022 during COVID, the budget team and folks at the city and the mayor and the new council really dove into the budgets to look at where there were gaps, where there was staffing gaps, where people were adding extra staff on extra staff, even though staff were not hired at the time, right? So these are some of the things that we were able to find savings for in the first 4 years. With the strong mayor powers now in this term from 2022 to 2026, the mayor hired a budget team, has a budget team. Exclusively their mission is to find line by line by line all of those savings. And we have been managing to do that. So now that the books are at a better place versus what it was from 2018 and before.
But debt level, if I talk about, debt is rising with nearly 390 million projected at the year end 2026.
The city of Brampton has one of the highest credit rating scores, AAA credit rating. And like any responsible person or any responsible individual organization, debt and taking on lending in order to pay for projects is the reality of how we can get things done. The alternative would be to increase property taxes and use property taxes to pay for everything. In a new environment where the provincial government is limiting our access to development charges to pay for things, we do have to turn to other revenue tools like taking on loans in order to pay for infrastructure, major infrastructure projects. Otherwise, Nitin, it all goes to the property tax bill, which we're trying to avoid.
Okay, Rowena, correct me if I'm wrong. One of the reasons for the delayed projects moved to 2028-29, since this is an election year, the city took a loan of 19.4 million from Peel Memorial Hospital Reserve Fund. Then 4 million loan from Downtown Reimagined Project. Then 800,000 from the Clark Transit Facility, then 600,000 from the sidewalk repairs. These all results in projects pushed to 2028-29. Why city is taking a loan from these projects infrastructure?
Well, you know what, it is about a matter of priorities and making sure that the projects that need to get done sooner rather than later do get done sooner rather than later.
But is it right to get a loan from the projects?
To get it'll end up getting paid back. So I'll take you back to the development charges. Ultimately, it would be development charges that are paying for those things. But because the legislation around development charges has changed, in the past, we would collect development charges before the builder builds, meaning we would have capital money to pay for these infrastructure projects. With the legislation now changing, we won't get those development charges until those buildings are occupied, which could be many years down the road. That leaves a huge gap in our cash flow. So when we take a loan from the project or from the reserve, that's not to say we're not going to pay it back. We're going to pay it back, but because of the changes to the legislation, we will pay it back when we receive those development charges. The alternative is for the province to keep their promise to us and make us whole. So the province made these changes on how development charges are collected, when they're collected, how much is collected. It's a major revenue source for the City of Brampton to pay for all of the infrastructure projects that you've just described. But they've changed the rules of the game, meaning there's a gap in our cash flow. So how do we temporarily deal with that gap in cash flow? Is by taking on a loan, or the province has to give us the money until we receive the development charges later down the road.
Okay, Rowena, there were two big controversies in City of Brampton and residents want to know about it. Number one, Electra building, the property on Sandalwood, where the ASE, Automated Speed Enforcement Cameras office could have been there. So city made a huge amount of money in that project. What is the reality? And there was a big article in the Toronto Star also, front page articles, and then city responded to that. But after that, what happened? Where is that thing? No further news came out on that controversy of Electra building. What happened in that case?
Yeah, I think some of the information that was shared again through social media and other articles were taken out of context, misinformed or disinformation that was out there, quite frankly. Ultimately, that building, when the city purchased that building, and all the closed session documents are now available for people to look at, it was assessed by 3 parties, and it was equitably assessed in a competitive in a competitive bid. The City of Brampton is about 1 million people, 800,000 to 1 million people.
Yes.
We are a growing city. We're not a small little town. We needed space for a processing center, for the speed cameras, but that building and that property was also meant to accommodate the upcoming election, all the training for the elections, the clerks for the election that's coming up in 2026, recreational staff that we're moving from 8 Nelson, which is going to be demolished in the future from downtown Brampton. They're moving up there. We have an expanding need for storage of public works vehicles, for public works assets, for community service assets like lawnmowers and all the different things that we use are mostly stored outside. In this facility, you can store all that equipment inside because now we have a space to actually accommodate it. So there were always big plans.
So who made money
for
in that
building.
transaction?
I don't know who made the money on that transaction, but my point is that we bought that building, we bought that property because, to be perfectly honest with you, with the expanded needs of the City of Brampton and all of the staff that we need to accommodate in Brampton, if we were to buy property and build a new building, it would cost even more. And so we had there was a good property, a good building, right across the street from Brampton Transit, right across the street
No
from
doubt,
Public Works.
that's a best space, best property. But did you send a notice to Toronto Star for those allegations they put in?
I didn't personally.
City?
The city, I know the city responded in an official statement and an official response to whatever was indicated in the Toronto Star. And you know, who knows, perhaps that's the reason why there are no more stories about it. I know that now
But no legal notice to them that for false, if that's for false allegations, no notice or lawsuit to them?
There were a number of corrections that were requested from the City of Brampton to the Toronto Star reporter. But at the end of the day, this building now is housing and preparing for elections, for storage, for the clerk's office, as well as for recreation staff in that building.
Did they apologize, Toronto Star?
I don't know.
Okay. Another controversy of involving our Deputy Mayor Harkirat Singh, 24 million Niwas living. Councillor Toor and Councillor Kaur knew about it. My question is, being a councillor, being a part of the council, was this a big conflict of interest? Because as per the media reports, we don't know. As per the media reports, Deputy Mayor, the council approved the funding. After that, he created a company in which he was the director, which he is denying. The funding went to that company. And both the councillor, Toor and Kaur, they knew about it, and other council members, they were not aware why that funding was approved when there was a big conflict of interest. Was there a big conflict of interest?
I'm very proud of the work of Deputy Mayor Harkirat Singh championing the long-term care home. And in fact, I believe the roofing of the home is going to be this weekend or coming up very soon. You know, we have an incredible need for culturally sensitive seniors care. As well as long-term care spaces. Many of our seniors, I know from experience talking to the numerous hundreds of seniors clubs in Brampton, they are staying home, their children are at home struggling to take care of them and then taking care of their children at the same time. Access to a culturally sensitive long-term care center just like this is hugely beneficial for the city of Brampton.
Of course, no doubt. But was that a conflict of interest for a councillor?
I know that Councillor or Deputy Mayor Singh has already shared that that was not a conflict of interest for him. You know, we have other members of council who sit on volunteer boards where they are giving their volunteer time to be part of a good organization, to help the organization. Another example is K. Blair Hospice. We will have our own hospice in the city of Brampton. I know that Councillor Vicente is part of helping to fundraise and is part of that board.
But Deputy Mayor opened that company after the funding was approved, as per the media reports. Can we recover that money, or what is the situation? Because residents want to know about this.
I'm unaware of any corporation that has been set up, but I do know that Councillor Singh and Deputy Mayor Singh has utmost integrity, and I'm sure that if he had a conflict of interest, he would have declared it. And certainly, if there's an issue, people can take that up with the Integrity Commissioner.
And what is the response of Integrity Commission in this case?
I don't know if anyone's issued a complaint.
Okay. Okay. Automated speed enforcement cameras. How much we lost, because people say it's a 34 million photo radar debt. How much we lost? Are we still paying for the cameras? How much money per camera and how long is the lease? Because after the province decision, we saw your videos, you were quite active.
Yes.
Don't remove that, and still people are speeding. Anyhow, that is the province decision, we have to obey with that. But automated speed enforcement, why they are still there? How much we are paying to the leasing company? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, $2,000 per camera per month is the lease, or how long is the lease we'll keep on paying?
So an update from staff is going to be coming forward on this, but what I will say is that this was a cost recovery project. So the people who were speeding in the city of Brampton were the ones who were paying the costs for the entire program itself, including the staff who were working on this particular project as well. So we didn't lose anything on this, and any surplus from the program that came out of it after the year or so or 6 months that it was fully implemented is going back to paying the cost of the building as well, contributing to the building as well. So there was no loss. Taxpayers' money was not. There was no payment of taxpayers' money on this particular because, again, the people who were breaking the rules were the ones who were paying for the program.
So what these cameras are doing now?
So we've been very public at council talking about utilizing the cameras for red light cameras as on municipal streets, as well as using it as a tool for Peel Regional Police, high-resolution cameras to help catch criminals on our roads. So we're looking at, for the remainder of the lease,
So
to
do you have
utilize
any
that
data
technology.
that it is helping Peel Police, because they are not?
So we have already implemented 50 high-resolution cameras, not the speed cameras, but the high-resolution cameras, and it is 100% helping police catch criminals. If the province allows us to use the cameras as well, and for high resolution to add to the 50 that we already have, that would be great. To be honest with you, the more cameras we have to help police is very helpful for Brampton. The mayor likes to say we want this city to be the most difficult city to commit a crime. And one of the ways to do that is helping police by giving them the technology to investigate crime and catch the criminals.
But how the mayor's wish list will be completed when police don't report a petty crime? Because you
working on that,
because
Nitin.
you have started being a counselor, you have started all the survey, doing police job, and we say we gave all the resources to the police. They are not reporting petty crime, because everything starts from the petty crime, from ID theft to all these kind of crimes, to the vehicle theft. It starts from there. That's the first level. And police is not reporting that. Anyhow, Rowena, you championed Break the Cycle Housing Summit to address gender-based violence here in Peel. Tell us something about this.
So this is the next step to deal with solutions to end gender-based violence, intimate partner violence in the region of Peel. I started when I was first elected with the Break the Silence campaign, pushing for police, the provincial, federal government to really pay attention to this issue, and we've seen some movement. Our awareness levels are up, people are talking about it. At the same time, when awareness levels are up, it means that more women are reaching out to police. It means they're reaching out to more support services. And one of the biggest obstacles for women to leave their abusive partners is housing. If women don't have a safe place to go with their children, they will just stay with their abusive partner. And so housing, you know, we're in the state of a housing crisis, but we're also in a state of a gender-based violence epidemic. We've declared both in the region of Peel. And so the solution from my perspective is the Break the Cycle Summit. We're going to be bringing together the incredible women's groups and organizations that I've been working with for the past 8 years, as well as the Toronto Metropolitan University Medical School, as well as Peel Police, federal government, provincial government. We're going to all come to the table with developers and talk about housing solutions for women so that they can leave their abusive partners. That's emergency shelter, second stage transitional housing, and deeply affordable housing, so that women can finally, with their children, get off their feet and be away from their abusive situation.
Final question is City of Brampton's population underreported? As per the 2021 census data, the population is 656,000 people, with a 10% growth every year. And 2026, it should have been more than 1 million. But it seems to be underreported, and with that, the consequences come. The housing, the medical facility, the affordability crisis, all those things come. Being a council, what you see, how city can make sure that City of Brampton's population should be reported correctly, so that city can get the funding, proper funding with that kind of a population. Every basement has more than 4 to 5 members in their houses, and that is not reported either.
100%. Like I know that some recent data shows that we are 800,000. I believe that we're more. You could see it in our local neighborhoods. The amount of people, you could see it in our overflowing buses, for example. Now, I think the federal government is trying to control the situation, and some of those folks are now, some of their student visas are expiring, and they're not letting as many people in. So there's a little bit of a balance. However, my job as a board member of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, as well as a strong advocate on government relations for the region of Peel, is to push for these things. The funding formula for municipalities to receive funding from provincial and federal government is completely outdated, and it doesn't reflect. It's like looking back. They're giving us money based on 2021 allocation numbers. Our population since COVID has exploded. And so when you look at where the inequities are with respect to housing and support for, community services and for social support services. It is, and even healthcare services, our hospital.
Yeah.
You could see that it is unfair. So my job at FCM and as an advocate is to continue pushing with my voice, with my work, to the provincial federal government in order to change that funding formula.
Okay. Your final message to the resident of Brampton.
Well, I think that the residents of Brampton are incredible. It's been an honor over the past 8 years to work alongside them. Everything that I've done, whether that's dealing with the encampments and homelessness that was proliferating in 2024, to dealing with gender-based violence, or dealing with the residential rental licensing and slum landlords, for example, or advocacy at the federal and provincial level, you name it. Issues that are big and small, or petty crime theft, or illegal parking on our streets, the number one concern in Brampton, big or small. I've every step of the way worked with the incredible residents in wards 1 and 5 and the city of Brampton, and the solutions that I've been bringing forward, the motions, countless motions I've been bringing forward, is a result of my engagement with all of you. So I'm looking forward to the election. I'm looking forward to the next term, Nitin, and thank you very much for having me on your show.
Thank you. And are you easily available for the resident of Brampton? Many councillors, they don't answer or call back to them. What about
That's
you?
why I have a staff,
Okay.
Nitin.
Thank you.
That's why I have a staff,
Thank you.
and that's why I have a team.
Thank you. Rowena, we wish you all the best for this year.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
यूएस हो या कनाडा की फास्ट लाइफ,
काम, घर और ठंडी हवाओं के बीच बॉडी को चाहिए रोज का नेचुरल केयर।
मीट अश्विनो पराश, हितायु का डेली वेलनेस हीरो। 40+ हर्ब्स, A2 घी और हनी का पावरफुल मिश्रण।
रोज का 1 चम्मच और आपको मिले नेचुरल न्यूट्रिशन, स्ट्रॉन्ग इम्यूनिटी, कोल्ड, फटीग और स्ट्रेस से प्रोटेक्शन।
पीढ़ियों से ट्रस्टेड ये आयुर्वेदिक फॉर्मूला
डेली एनर्जी बढ़ाने के लिए आज ही ऑर्डर करें अश्विनो पराश।